Wow. Welcome to Targeted, the show for masculinity and success. And I'm your host, Atlas Aultman, former military commander turned best-selling author, now bringing you a podcast that you can use for sharing stories from highly successful men so that you can figure it out for yourself. Welcome. This is Targeted.
Welcome back, everybody. It's me. It's Aaron from the Ones Ready podcast. I want to say thanks for joining us to this one. Listen, I can't even really come up with a way to frame what we're about to get here. I want to introduce the partner of the swapcast right now, Atlas Aultman.
Take Altus.
I know, Altus. Yeah, like exactly. Altus, whatever. I don't care. I'm stupid. Everybody knows this. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. One's Ready, Targeted Pod. This is a swapcast. I'm going to turn it over to my friend Atlas, and we're going to introduce a legend that needs no introduction. Atlas, take it away.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, we are in an amazing studio, Sunrise Podcast. Studios opened up their doors for us because they heard that Don Frye was in town and that we might be able to get him in the studio. So that's where we're at now. If you're on Targeted, you've seen Don before. We're going to get into some different stories. But when Aaron and I were talking about this, we had to do this together.
Had to.
So we have Don Frye. He's looking at me right now. I promise it's a good look. But we're going to let him introduce himself. How would you describe yourself?
Humble, beautiful, sweet, silent kind of guy. You know.
The most humble man in the room of all time.
Modest.
Yes.
Honest.
I can't even talk about myself. I'm so modest.
Oh, my gosh.
If I wasn't, I'd tell you how wonderful I am.
Yeah.
You know?
Some Ric Flair stuff going on in here.
I saw Rick today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, my
great.
gosh.
He looked great.
Did he?
Had a Ric Flair suit on, you know.
Did he? Did he dress up?
Yeah, it looked like the fucking drapes off of somebody's mansion, you know. But it was all Ric Flair, man.
Oh my gosh,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Did you say, hey, Rick, whenever you're done looking at my my Instagram, my TikTok, and my YouTube post, can you pay attention to your fans?
That guy is so awesome, you know. He's done it all. You talk about someone who's done it all.
Yeah. Ric Flair's definitely all over the internet today. Well, we all have an Air Force tie-in. So,
yes, sir. Aaron
and I were talking about some things we could talk about since we are all from an Air Force family, and how we can bring our podcast together and make this work today. So, what we're going to do is we're going to volley back and forth. Ask a question, and then I'll ask a question, and you're just going to bombard you with a whole bunch of questions.
And I'll decide which is the dumbest and which is the smartest.
I can tell you the dumbest one's going to come from this chair right now, so let's just get that out there right now.
Well, you better switch chairs.
So always attacking me.
As we were talking, I got coin checked right away. The military challenge coin, tradition is one of those things, and you just so happen to mention, you're like, hey, I got a really good one. And it was from the birth of the Air Commandos from your dad in Vietnam. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my father was Air Commando in Vietnam. He was a lieutenant. Well, he went into the Air Force first as a private and worked his way up to sergeant. And then he says, this is bullshit. He got out and got his college degree and then went back in, went to OCS and became an officer. He retired as a light colonel.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did he do when he was in?
He was in TriTac Communications.
Okay.
He was Air Commando in Vietnam, but then he was filtered into TriTac. And he was the head of TriTac over in Fort Huachuca, Arizona for a while. Then he pissed somebody off, got fired, got replaced.
Well, I will say that, the enlisted and officer division is a little bit wide, but as soon as an officer gets fired, that's when the E-Dogs give him a big hug and they say, hey, now you're one of us, right? I had a friend that made E6 2 times because he got in a little bit of trouble and got demoted. It was so nice he made it twice. So when an officer gets fired, hopefully for doing something to protect the men, that's always when the enlisted men kind of wrap their arms around them.
Yeah, my dad, he's like, I guess I inherited his genes because he had a problem keeping his mouth shut. I guess he was over there in Vietnam and had a hut all set up, nice tent hut, and had a wood floor in it, and had a wood stove and all this. And he said, he's just a lieutenant, and some light colonel come in there and says, "This is nice. I'll take it." And he said, "The hell you will." He said, "This is mine." And the major pulled him over and said, "Come here, boy. Let me explain what."
Well, so, I mean, obviously you got a lot of lessons from your dad, right? And I'm already making these connections, right? Like he's a little bit resistant to authority, but he's willing to stand up for what he believes in. What other lessons did you learn from your dad that helped you in your career moving forward?
Integrity. My dad had the most integrity that any person I've ever known in my life. You know, and I hope, you know, that goes to my gravestone. You know, he had integrity. You know, that would be the best way to pass along. You know,
That's deep, Don. Integrity. Do you have a story where your dad showed that to you as a child or even as an adult? Because I know you guys had a great relationship.
Yeah.
When you were fighting and he was still in, and he was like, come in. And you're like, whoa, Dad. Do you have a story where he showed integrity to you?
Yeah, his my mom and my dad were over at my uncle's house, and they were in the back seat of the car, and the uncle was dripping through the road, and he got pulled over and got in an argument with the cop, and you know, everybody got out of the car. Back then, you get out of the car and be safe, you know, not get shot, because you know not everybody's gonna shoot the cops. So,
That's right.
The policeman could relax, you know, and so they were standing there, and the police officer was arguing with my uncle, and then he turned to my dad and says, "Was he speeding?" And my dad says, "What did he say?" What did he say? And so, you know, he wouldn't say yes, no, maybe. He just, well, what did he say?
Yeah.
You know, and he taught me, you know, you fuck up, you admit it. And even though it hurts, you know, you got to pay for it. You know, but if it's not your fuck up, you don't have to admit it.
That's right.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Own up to what you did.
You're not going to roll over on somebody.
Absolutely not.
That's part of integrity too.
It is. Yeah. Because you make a solemn promise with those friends of yours.
Right.
And, you know, throughout our careers, we made solemn promises to our brothers in arms. Like, you can pull that guy aside afterwards and go, "Hey, man, I'm never doing that again. Clean your shit up." But for right now, that was your free one. And of course, I would never sell you out in that way.
Absolutely.
What are some other lessons you learned from your dad that served you in your career as you were moving forward? So integrity. I'd love to keep it in the Air Force realm and go service before self next. But
next.
I know that you probably learned a lot with your work ethic, with the things that you've done from pro wrestling to Pride to UFC to revolutionizing the game as we know it, especially in the MMA world. But you're out here trying to connect with your fans and people that gain something from you. When I hear stuff like that, I think of you giving yourself to others. Why is that so important to you?
Man, my father served. The closest I ever got, I played fireman for about 7 years. You know, it was the closest I ever got to signing my name with the military. You know, my mother wasn't good at following instructions or directions, and so neither was I. so fireman was the closest I got near the service, you know. And I caused a lot of problems with the fire department. Chief Jack Ernest, you know, went gray with me being there, and so Paul Meadows and Bob Sanders, you know, he was my partner, and Paul was my captain. And they all aged 10 years in the 5 years I was with that department. You know, I started out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, because I was bouncing around from job to job, and somebody told me about the fire department. You know, well,
You did fire department in Santa Fe?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you started in Arizona.
No, I started in Santa Fe because you hang on, I'll tell you the story.
I'm standing by.
Settle down there, kid. Jeez.
You want to switch chairs? Is now the time?
Dumby chair, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm shutting up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody told me about the fire department where you work only 10 days a month. That's the job for me.
That's it.
Yeah. I can do that. That'll hold my attention, you know. And so I got out the old phone book back then. Called up every city in the state of Arizona. Nobody was hiring. So then I said, well, you know, Santa Fe is the capital of New Mexico. Yeah. You know, they got to be hiring. They got to pay good people, you know. So I called them up and they said, yeah, we're going to be testing in a couple of weeks. So I quit my job. went over there.
That is one way to do it,
That's
Don.
it. I committed. I committed 100%.
Yeah. On our podcast, we talk to folks that are trying to get into special operations, and we get so many DMs, especially in today's world. They need to know every single thing. So to hear you just say that you leaned into it, you literally found a number in a phone book, you just decided that this was your move and that you were all in. Is that something that you had just internally, or did you just know that you wanted to be a fireman in that moment? Like, what caused you to make that leap into the unknown?
Probably a short attention span.
Fair enough. Too stupid to quit?
I was done doing what I was doing,
Yeah.
And it's like when I got into the UFC, I just rolled the dice, boom. It made the jump. I trained. I was training and working out, and then I won UFC 8. I'd fought a few fights before that. Across the Dan Severn had got me. And then I won a world championship. I took time off to be in go to his training camp and I was a chief throwing dummy. So he beat me up for a couple of weeks. And then I went back to work, and he got me some fights, and then his Ultimate One fight came up in December of 95.
95, yeah.
Yeah, and I was in the corner with Dan. You see me throwing T-shirts for the people,
Yeah.
And
Big smile at the end, too.
yeah, and he won, and I kept training and working out because Bisbee was a mile high. So, you could do is lift weights and run up there at the mile high. And they called me up 2 weeks before, and they said, "You want to fight?" I said, "Damn right, Yeah. So then I won UFC 8. A month later, they gave me a call for UFC 9. And I asked for the time off to go fight. And the city manager said, "No, you pick one or the other."
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking back at what MMA has become, that city manager has to be kicking himself, right?
Yeah. Well, he was a McCain ass kisser, so
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So piss on him.
If it was boxing, it might have been different at the time then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He'd been crawled up there.
So it was a completely different sport back then, kind of, the Grand Prix setup, fighting multiple times, and you have tons of experience in fighting with that. And then when you look at the sport today and you see the guys that are fighting, one with 6-month breaks in between, and, that has to make you feel some type of way, right? So I know everything was harder back in the day. When I talk to the young guys today, I always tell them that my selection was harder and my stuff was harder. But I think objectively, that first foray for you into fighting was objectively harder than it is today. What got you through those first couple of fights, those first couple times?
I thought it was easier.
You thought it was easier?
It was easier because I got 3 fights over in a night and I won $50,000. As a fireman in Bisbee, Arizona, we were the lowest paid full-time fire company in the fire department in the state.
It was in the state? I thought it was in the country.
Could be the country.
Yeah, because it was like really low.
Yeah.
It was 20 or 25?
25, something like that.
So you got double your annual salary in one night.
In one night.
I thought I was the richest man in the world. I walked into that bank and sat down at the president's desk, and my girlfriend said, "Hey, you gotta wait." "No, I don't. I got $50,000."
How did they pay you on that?
Just a check.
Did it check?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're hoping it cashed,
You were the most popular man in Bisbee, Arizona, my friend.
Bet your sweet ass.
As soon as word got around that small town that you had $50,000,
$50,000.
I'll tell you, no more lines for you.
Shit, no, they love me.
What did your dad say after that win?
It was funny because before that, Becky Levi, she's a buddy of mine. She was my strength and conditioning coach for it. And we had to go to my parents' house and ask them permission for me to fight in the UFC. Here I am, 30 years old, already divorced and, and living on my own and all that stuff. But I got to get permission from mom and dad, And my dad turns to my mom and says, Might as well let the boy do it. He always does what he wants anyways. So they were happy. They were real proud of me.
Yeah, after you won, they were probably really proud of you.
Yeah.
And when did your dad start talking to you about going into the military? Was it after that?
No, he had always talked to me about it.
Every time you saw him?
Every time. Yeah. But when I was 40 years old, my second ex-wife had a 40-year-old birthday party for me. And my dad puts his arm around his shoulder and says, they raised the enlistment age.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm thinking, God, Dad, I would, but my back hurt so bad because my back was already taking a crap on me.
Yeah, well, you had a lot of miles on you at that point.
Yeah.
Being a fireman I grew up in the firehouse. My dad was a full-time fireman for 30 years. So, that's no easy task at all for you to deal with it. It puts a tremendous toll on your body. Nothing like pro wrestling and what you went through.
Off as a horse farrier. So, yeah.
What haven't you done? Were you an astronaut too, Don?
Like the ladies going up there last week.
Oh, don't get me started. We spent 8 minutes at 10,000 feet, and all of a sudden we're astronauts. No, you took a trip. You didn't pilot anything, madam.
You sat there.
Yeah, you just sat there. You came back down.
Did your makeup.
My favorite meme that came out of that was Katy Perry kissing the ground when she came back in, and then they showed pictures of the two astronauts that were stranded for 9 months in space, and they're both just like looking very mean. I guess that's what you call perspective. I guess we could say we zoomed out on that entire thing.
Well, that's the difference between liberalism and conservatism.
You're
right?
talking to the right one. Absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. It's the internal versus the external focus, right? Like in the Bible or in theological circuits, they call it otis amori, of what it is that we're supposed to care about first. We're supposed to care about our family first, and then our smaller community, and then we build out. And that's the inverse in liberalism, right? Like they care about external things that they can't possibly control before they ever start looking at their family. And you find when you order...
don't know. I think that's backwards. You got less liberals. I mean, you got country, you got what? Country, God, and family, right?
Right.
And then that's conservative thing.
Right.
Or God, country, family.
Right.
Is it God, country, family?
Depends on you, Don.
Yeah, it depends on you. But I think the liberals, it's all about them.
I agree with that.
I don't think they have a number 2 and 3. I think it's all about them.
I agree with that. But when you don't have principles and you don't have to adhere to logic, you can do anything, which is a lot of what we see now, right? Yeah.
You have the lack of integrity,
It is.
That's all there is to it.
Right.
What's going to your work ethic? So service before self.
Right.
It's the next Air Force core value. There's only 3 of them because we do it better than everyone else.
Right.
So service before self was something that was instilled in you. I'm a Mustang. That means I started off as an enlisted guy, and then I went as an officer. And when we were looking at your dad's shadow box, I'm like, I've had the same career as your dad. It's just absolutely cool. And we also my bloodline goes back to a Frye bloodline. We've talked about that before too. Yeah. So I'm like, there's a work ethic there, but there's a service before self element that I think is built into us.
Yeah.
You went into the fire department. Why? And you told us kind of it was something that you had a calling for, if you will.
Right.
10 days a month is still a calling. But I think deep down, Don, I'm gonna unpeel that a little bit. I think you really wanted to help people, man, because I see you today. And I see the fans. I saw it today. I saw the fans lined up. You had the most popular area in Vegas and WrestleCon of anyone who was there. And there was a lot of people there. There was a lot of people that I had seen throughout my life. But you had the longest line of people waiting to see you because you engage with people at a different level.
Really?
Yeah.
Just the fact that you're here with some no-name guy that we met, 20 minutes before here. You've been gracious with your time. You've been giving of yourself. Like those things, those aren't taught.
No.
You don't, unless you have a great mentor like your father, unless you have somebody that shows you the way to do it. Much like, your puppy and my puppy. I wish I had a bigger dog to teach my dog how to be any good because she was a menace. But, that giving of yourself and that being of service, where did that come from?
I don't know. My mom and dad were both good people. They tried instilling more values in me than I was willing to accept. I'll tell you, pulled the hair out, went bald, trying to get me to go to church and all that good stuff, Stay away from the alcohol and cigars. I guess they did a lot of good, but, but 5% of it failed,
Right. I was going to say, yeah, I didn't do too good on the whiskey and cigars, right?
No.
Didn't stick.
Well, that one they failed on.
Right. Well, with everything else that you've given for everybody, I think they did a pretty good job. I'll take the other 95% that they did a really, really good thing on.
Thank you.
So, your career, being an active duty fireman along with being a UFC fighter, we see reflections in that today. Stipe Miocic, from Northeast Ohio, shortly away from the town that I grew up in. He works in, Cleveland, Ohio, just up the road from there. Do you think that there's something among all UFC fighters, like speaking about grit and determination, that giving of self? Do you think that MMA, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Does MMA bring that out of people, or do MMA fighters have a desire to actually, engage with the fans and give their body? Like, you could go over your list of injuries. It's extensive.
Right.
What kept you going, knowing that those injuries were there, especially after you got injured, especially after you broke your neck doing professional wrestling? You literally risked your life for that. And that's all to give back to the fans. Sports entertainment is about connecting with the fans and giving them a story that they want to see and they want to be involved in. Where did that come from?
Probably from hate.
Hate? How?
I was molested several times when I was a kid.
That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
First when it wasn't your fault.
Sure.
First when I was 6, and then when I was 8, and then I was 10 or 11. I don't know, 11, 12, I don't know. But yeah, so it gave me the motivation to want to drive for something, not to settle for shit, but the hate to go out there and attack the world.
Wow.
Now, you've shared this before on some other podcasts.
Yeah.
And you have a victim versus victor mentality. And I noticed you are always a victor. You take whatever life gives you and you make it happen.
Thank you.
No, dude, it's the truth. Don't thank me, because I've seen it personally. Where did that happen? How did you get that mindset?
I don't know. My parents drilled it in me, or the hate did, Just the hate of failure, the hate of being scared and being weak.
Mm.
The last thing I want to be known as being weak.
Mm.
That's why I want integrity on my tombstone, because you can't be weak and have integrity. The two don't go together.
Mm. Dude, I mean, the last core value that we have in the Air Force is excellence in all we do.
Right.
What people miss a lot of times is the emotion that goes behind that. And hate is an emotion that fuels a lot of things. Like,
Absolutely.
Whenever 9/11 happened, a lot of hate happened.
Yeah.
And American flags popped out. And then everyone that could volunteered. And then we hear a lot of stories. I was going to be in. But, no. You flipped it. That mindset you had, I'm just going to say it pushed a lot of Americans to do more because they've heard your story, man. And you've taken that mentality. But, man, I've never heard you tell anybody like when that switch was actually flipped for you and you said, okay, fuck the world, man. I'm going to do this. Was it as a child? Was it as a teen? Was it as an adult? Do you know?
Must have been as a child, because when I was in the 2nd grade, before the first molestation, I was in the 98th percentile in math, and I was, could have been Mensa.
Yeah.
Now, fuck, I got to pull out the calculator to get my gasoline,
Well, your teachers lied to you back then. They said you weren't going to have a calculator on you all the time, and now we have phones that can take you to space. So you know what? They probably did you a disservice there. What other problems sort of manifested with you as you were growing up? That hate, before you learn how to harness that hate and put it towards something like your fighting career, or put it towards something that you really, really care about. What are some other problems you had from that misdirected hate or that misdirected anger?
Fear. I had a lot of fear. Yeah, I hate to admit it. I don't want to admit it, you know?
Yeah.
If I wasn't drinking, I wouldn't fucking admit it. You know? But yeah, I had a lot of fear. And it's shameful, you know? It's a shameful thing, you know? I'm very ashamed of it.
Was it fear of failure? Was it fear of disappointing your parents? Where was that fear?
After being molested 3 fucking times, you know, the fear of everything.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Then I finally found wrestling, you know, got into wrestling, and got some success at that, you know, and then you know, got out, did pro boxing, you know, and I don't know if it was just physical fear or mental fear, or, you know, because there's a lot of both, you know, but I tortured my body, you know, through the wrestling and the boxing and the judo and then the MMA, you know, and horseshoeing and fireman,
right.
You know, a lot of torture on the body.
Well, those are all things you could control, right? I bet you felt like you were out of control, but not in wrestling. You could work harder. You could be better.
Absolutely.
You could make it so that nobody could ever control you again. Because
you can always work harder.
You're right.
Always work harder.
There is no end to better, is a quote that I heard recently. And people that have a good friend of mine, AG, he called it a psychotic obsession to be better. Where when you have that fear and you focus it towards something that's good and you feel like you're in control and you feel like you'll never be put in that place again, it becomes addictive. Right. And then people with addicted personalities like me sitting right here, right now, you end up leaning into it. And for you, it ended up to be the best in the world and one of the legends in the game.
Thank you.
Once you learn how to focus it.
Yeah. But my oldest daughter, Katie, she's a competitive pole dancer. Not professional.
Competitive. That's an important word.
Yeah,
it's an important qualifier.
Yeah, very competitive. And she's very competitive. You know, she had to compete against a male over there in L.A. a couple of weeks ago. She's still pissed. She lost to that guy. Oh my God. She's still pissed.
I will not take anything away. I don't like.
That's a lot of work out.
The amount of strength it takes for half of that stuff, it's an athletic.
Imagine
it's something that I just don't possess. Never that good as an athlete.
Oh, she's like her mother. Her mother's was addicted to working out, you know, and Katie's addicted to working out. My youngest daughter's like me, you know, it's just, hey, what the fuck happens when that? We're all lucky. My youngest daughter and I, we embrace our luck.
Yeah.
And where my oldest daughter and her mother, they fight their luck, you know. And that's what you gotta learn. You know, fuck, you're lucky, embrace your luck, and go with it, you know, enjoy it. You know, you still got to work hard. You still got to, you know, nothing makes, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
That's what I was going to ask you. That quote is so powerful.
Yeah.
And you infused that into both your daughters.
Yeah.
You can tell. And they've both processed it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're both beautiful, and they're both great athletes, and both cock strong, you know. Yeah. And, but, you know, one's having fun in life, and one's fighting her way through life. You know, she got a bachelor's degree from Johns Hopkins, and then a master's degree from NYU. And then the youngest one has got a bachelor's degree from ASU. And she's tending bar right now, and not worried about life.
So what kind of advice, like that's two ends of the spectrum, right? And we talk to everybody that's on, you know, the extreme far ends. We've heard a lot of bad luck stories, or bad luck, so it seems to them. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that's just like, oh man, I can't catch a break. I always get the worst luck.
You're looking at it in the wrong way, you know. I mean, you know, if you feel like you're in a hole, you didn't fall in the hole, you were planted there, right? So it's an opportunity. Every fucking hole you fall into is an opportunity. You know, you gotta quit looking at stuff as an obstacle, but look at it as an opportunity, because it'll make you stronger. You know, steel sharpens steel.
Right. The only true growth comes from adversity. And you have a terrible backstory as a child, but that trauma helped you to grow.
Absolutely.
And it made you stronger. And it made you able to take on more trauma. That's the only way. It's even the basics of working out, right? What do you do to your muscles when you work out?
Tear them up.
You tear your muscles, and you're stronger the next day. You're sore for a couple days, but next day you can lift more weight, right?
I got to say, in our community, in MMA too, I find a lot of people that have had charred or really hard childhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And the combination and the reason why I became an officer is because I felt like I had to prove something, like I was not good enough, and I was like, "What is the next step? What is the next step?" And I was addicted to that.
You had to prove it to yourself.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from you, Don, is you did that with fighting. You did it at a different level, and we've talked before where they've told you can't fight, and you're like, "What do you mean I can't fight? I'm ready to fight." And same thing, we've been told. I'm sure you've been told on a mission, it's not a go. And
can't
you're like,
go.
What do you
Right.
mean it's not a go?
What do you mean? This is what we did.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Right.
Let's go. I don't care what they say.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset shift is different in the community that you talk to and that I serve, and you do too, indirectly but directly. And it's people who are looking at you, Don, and saying, this man's a freaking legend. He's done so much in his life. How can it be like him? And the lesson, the question that you got to ask is a good one, but I'm going to ask you another one.
Well, I was told several times I'd never walk again. You know, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, tell me about.
I had to say that before I forgot. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I mean, well, you just got hit by a truck too.
Yeah.
Crying out loud.
My own truck.
You got hit by a truck, and he's sitting in his studio.
Who's driving this truck?
Laughing
Get him
about
here
it.
right now.
Nobody.
You got hit by a ghost truck?
I got hit by.
I mean, for crying out loud, you're a tough ass dude. But the question I'm going to say, okay, yeah, you haven't walked a couple times, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But what do you have inside of you that keeps you going?
Hate or stupidity. I don't know which one.
Is it still hate even today?
Yeah, it could be hate. Yeah. I hate to be weak.
Mm.
I do not want to be fucking weak. I do not want to be, even looked at as weak.
Yeah.
Seen as weak on any level, any fucking level. It disgusts me.
Right. Why do you think that is? Why do you when you see someone that you perceive as weak, why do you think that makes you so upset? Is it they aren't achieving their full potential? Is it that they aren't being the man that they can be?
Probably because I was weak when I was molested.
Okay.
So I hate that.
Right.
It brings me back to that fucking.
That's a dark hole, Don.
Yeah. And it fucking disgusts me to talk about it,
Right.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will hear this and probably realize that everyone has problems, but what you do with those problems is the most important thing. And Don, I don't think anyone can look at you and say that's a weak guy. I mean, ever. I don't see that in public or private. There's a way that we've all, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be very raw here. I have felt very weak, and I thought that the badges on my chest would help me. They don't. What helps me is my inner strength that is only built through the things that I had to overcome. And those things that we all have to overcome are all different for everyone. But shit, man, there's no way I could fucking compete to you. There's no way. I've seen you on TV prove it. I've seen you in the ring prove it. I've seen you in public prove it. I've seen you in crowds prove it. So for anyone to ever say that, you've taken that away, man. Like
bullshit. You fucking got a chest full of medals. You carried a fucking football. You're more man than I'll ever be. Fuck it. Both you fuckers are more man than I'll ever be.
Hey, he said he was going to fight you. I'm out of this. I'll just ref it and provide medical support.
I was not man enough to sign my name to the military. You guys were, and then you went the extra step and the extra step and the extra step. You're my fucking heroes, guys.
Bro, why didn't you join? Well, the reason why you didn't join is your back, man. Your neck. So, for listeners who may not know, like, he's broken his neck twice.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know he did it the first time. That's how tough this man is.
I didn't even know the second time.
He went in and, like, when is the first time he broke his neck? He's like, I broke it?
Yeah.
All right, now the first time I can understand, but the second time you're telling me you didn't go like, hey, wait a second.
It hurt.
Hey,
it
wait.
hurt. You know,
I felt this
I
before.
was doing pro wrestling before, the second time, and you break it, and the right arm started shrinking and losing ability, dexterity, whatever you want to call it, and then finally, after you can't sleep more than 2 hours a night, you start saying, hey, something's wrong.
I bet.
Yeah.
Do you remember what match that was in? Who was it against?
I
No?
don't have a clue.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. No, I do know. Fucker stomped the back of my neck. I was on my hands and knees, and he stomped the back of my neck, and I heard a that don't sound good.
Yeah, wait a second.
That's not right.
I'm not supposed to crunch in that way.
No.
Right.
Exactly. But I worked on it for a year and a half, so I figured must not be anything, And then about a year and a half later, you just, like I said, you couldn't sleep over 2 hours. Your arm wouldn't move. You lost muscle. You finally the light says, "Hey, dummy, there's something wrong here."
Well, so that was a terrible example of your time in the wrestling days. What was your favorite memory from that time? So 96 time frame. So we're going into the Monday Night Wars. We're talking about WWE or WWF at the time.
I did UFC in all of 96.
All in 96?
Yeah, and then 97 to 2001, I did the pro wrestling.
All during the Monday Night Wars, during, and that's, the connection to Ric Flair, and he was over at WCW and that. What was your favorite memory from that time?
Shit. Besides talking to Ric Flair on the phone, I called him up and said, "It's Don Frye."
That had to be crazy.
Yeah. He's Don Frye. He says, "How the hell are you?" "Good, sir. Just want to know where you get your robes, And he gave me the name of the gal. I said, "Well, how much are they?" "Oh, they're about $12,000. So, well, I'll throw that number away.
Turns out I don't need a robe that bad.
No.
I'll just go to Bed Bath & Beyond. They got a really nice shower curtain.
We're
I'll
doing
make it work.
T-shirts now. Our generation. Jeez.
For sure.
Yeah. Favorite memory, probably the Inoki retirement match. I did Antonio Inoki's retirement match.
So good.
And oh shit.
Yeah.
The most famous man in Japan,
Oh, yeah.
Muhammad Ali of Japan. And I get picked to do his retirement match, so we do like a tournament, We wrestle 2 matches, and then I win. I get to go to his retirement match. And it's supposed to be, retirement match is like a 30-minute, 45-minute, 60-minute Broadway, so everybody can say goodbye to him. I go in there, shoot a double leg on the guy, hook him around me, jump backwards, break 3 of his ribs.
Oh.
In 2 minutes into the match.
No.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah. And I don't know. I keep going, and he's, I'm going, I can't hear a thing. I'm going, and he goes to the finish, And I'm going, why the hell is he going to the finish? We only just started, And next thing he yells the referee, and then the referee calls the match, and I go, what the hell happened? And then about a half hour later in the locker room here, you broke 3 of his ribs, dummy.
Did you talk to him afterwards?
No, I thought he was going to get killed. I did. I thought he was going to kill me, because he tied in with the mob. That allegedly.
Right.
And so I thought and so I told my then wife, says, "You be careful, we got to get out of this country."
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to leave Japan immediately.
Yeah, we got to go. And everything was going good. And we were made it to the airport. And then I'm still sweating bullets and looking around. And then we get to they're boarding the plane. We get on the plane, sit down, and I'm still nervous as a whore in church, and just looking around. And then they say, "Buckle up," and oh my God, we made it.
The freedom flight
made it.
back to America.
Yeah. Then I got a tap on my shoulder. Ah! And she says, "There's a phone call for you." This guy stops in an international airport, international airport to say thank you. I go out there and he says, "Thank you very much for the match." Yeah, I mean, you're talking $150,000 a gate.
That's a dude, man. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, to say thank you.
I tell you what, man. So I've heard the story before, and I have always had a question because I know he picked you for that fight, and you proved it. You proved yourself, and he picked you for that fight. But what I always wanted to know was, how was your friendship after that fight?
It was good. He didn't kill me.
Yeah.
Didn't have anybody kill me. No, but we still talked to each other and saw each other as much as we could. And I think he's the greatest thing come out of Japan since sushi.
Nice.
Shit.
Nice.
I think he's a great man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, him and Masa Saito. Masa Saito was another. He was like, I called him father. After my dad passed away, I called Masa father because he was such a good, kind man to me.
That's awesome.
He was that important to you?
Yeah.
Wow.
You guys used to talk. You used to talk frequently.
Yeah. Brad Reagan's was a buddy of Masa's, and they both broke me into the business. They picked me and brought me to Inoki. Brad's still alive. He's up in Wisconsin.
Really?
I love Brad. Brad was on the 80 Olympic wrestling team,
Yeah.
He took 4th in the 76 Olympics.
Wow.
And he should have won, but that's when they were doing points instead of, placements. So he got screwed out of a gold medal by points because he had beat every, the first and second guy.
What was a parallel to your career where you took a loss like that and you were able to come back? Where was the time where, maybe it wasn't in, UFC or maybe even it was at the fire department or somewhere else in your life? When did you have something that you were like, this is it, I got to step away, and you didn't?
That's a good question. Shit.
Yes, got him.
You took a left. You took a hard left.
I did. I had to, yeah.
When I got turned, I know when Coleman beat the shit out of me, I went crazy. I went fucking crazy.
Why?
Because he beat me, and I woke up sick that day, and I got worse as the day and night went on. And come time to fight Coleman, Steve Owen, my judo coach, cornerman, he ran his fingers through my hair. It was bone dry, I was completely dehydrated, and I had nothing left, man. I had nothing left. And we were talking about pulling out, and then we saw what they had for alternates. They're like, there's no way
Wow.
we could pull out. And so we went in there and took our ass kicking. And but then after that, I watched that fight. I called up the UFC. I need that fight, It's back on VHS. And so they sent me a copy. I watched it every fucking day, man, for like 4 years. It just haunted me.
What were you looking for every time you watched it?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if I was looking for a way to beat him or why I got beat or what it was. It just.
How long did you watch that video for?
For 4 years.
4 years consistent.
Yeah, every day.
Haunted you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My then wife thought she signed up with a wacko.
Started regretting some decision making, did she?
Exactly.
Do you think it took you back to that place of failure, that place of fear, that place of hate that you had from before?
I think so. It probably did. The weakness.
Right.
Is a fucking showing my weakness broadcast to everybody on the fucking planet, It's pretty bad. You get your ass kicked like that in front of everybody.
Right. Why'd you stop watching it after 4 years?
Because I fought him again, and I didn't beat him. we went to fight, and I heard I was having problems with my wife and my marriage, and I had 2 girls, and I heard he was having problems with his wife and his marriage, and he had 2 girls, and I just humanized him. You know? I dehumanized him when I hated him, but when I humanized him, you know, I couldn't hate him anymore. I put myself in that position because I was in that position. And I knew that if he lost, pride would not bring him back. I knew if I lost, pride would bring me back. So I'm not trying to take away away his victory.
You still gave it all, but you knew.
No, I didn't give it all.
Yeah.
I didn't give it all, but you know, and that's my bad because he deserved for me to give it his all, my all. You know, I cheated him. I cheated him out of a honest win. You know? It's not his fault. It's my fault.
Fair.
Well, but that's integrity, right? That's owning up and saying, you know, out loud, just admitting that you could have been better and that you weren't. And then you put yourself in his shoes by saying, hey, I see something of myself in you and you deserve that. So you had to learn from that as well, right?
I learned I was a dumbass. Put myself in the position. Hell, we're probably fucking related. He's a Coleman from Ireland. I'm a Jenkins from Ireland, you know? Curry and O'Curry.
Yeah,
you know?
you're right.
So right in the damn neighborhood on that island, you know?
Right.
So, shit.
Yeah.
But Coleman's a great guy. This Coleman, goddamn, you know, he was a national champion in wrestling. He was on the Olympic wrestling team.
Yeah.
He was a UFC champion, second UFC heavyweight champion. This guy, then he saves his parents, you know, of a burning fire.
So nuts.
He was born to be a hero, man. This guy's like Ulysses, you know, or Hercules. You know, he was born to be a hero. You know, it's just awesome. Just awesome.
Man,
There you go, man. You're always humble, and I love it. And you're speaking. Your feelings are very. I feel the same thing. I feel the same way. Great human, awesome hero. I agree. But like I'm taken back from your UFC. Your speech to the UFC when you won a Hall of Fame, and I watch that often. When I need motivation, I watch your speech, bro.
Thank you.
I do. I'm like, this is amazing because you really poured it out. Like the mindset, what it takes to be a champion, and what you have to do to overcome life. With that, and with Coleman, where are you at today? Why are you still going, man? Why do you? Because you don't have to. You have made your mark on this earth to where you will never be forgotten. And you don't have to keep going.
I got ran over by a truck.
There it is. What keeps you going, man? What keeps you going?
Stupidity.
stupidity, that hate.
The hate's gone.
The hate.
Never that.
Stupidity.
Never stupidity.
The hate tank is completely full. We're still ready to go.
It's heart, baby. It's heart. Admit it. It's heart. You have the heart that continues to drive others, and you don't even want to admit it. That's how humble you are. And it's the same thing in the community. Like, we don't do things in the community that we came from. We don't do things for ourselves. All of our mottos are for other people.
Right.
Look at them. They're all in different languages, but they all mean the same thing. We're doing this for something bigger, and you're doing something bigger. So today, like I said, super popular. What keeps you going? Is it the fans?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, my bulldog for one.
Yeah.
I
And
love
Quinn.
my bulldog. Yeah, I love Quinn. Quinn's the light of my life. You know?
Yeah.
And you know, the fans. I don't know. You don't want to disappoint the fans. You know, shit. I mean, any of us could put a fucking bullet in their head. You know, or gut ourselves seppuku. You know.
Yeah.
You know, then the fans would look down on us.
Yeah.
You know, the fucking disappointment. You know, that you give them. You know, it ain't fair to them, it ain't fair to you. You know?
Yeah.
So when you're taking your time with these young fans, right? Because I speak to a lot of young men, you know, 17 to 24 is the overwhelming majority of the folks that we talk to, thousands of DMs a week. And we always try to pour our experience into them because they're looking to us for answers, because it's a crazy world out there for them right now. They grew up in a different world even than I did, and much more so even than you did, right? When you're talking to those fans and you're trying to give them in that very short period just a couple of words, or you're trying to instill some lessons to them, what are you trying to say to those young fans so that they can live a more fulfilled life and not be weak and be the person that they're supposed to be?
Life is going to kick you. Life is always going to kick you. But it ain't going to destroy you if you don't let it, Fuck it. Go like this to life and keep right on going, Shit, you gotta, it's just a snowstorm, blizzard, but you can still walk through the blizzard, Hell, I died once or twice, 3 times, I don't even know.
You died a couple times?
Yeah.
You sort of passed right by that, Don. What do you mean? You sort of glazed over that you died?
Yeah. Well, wasn't that important?
I mean, I recovered. I was fine.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah, I died once. I'm fine now. I'm feeling better.
Yeah, I went to hell.
They had to have kicked you out.
It's worse than that. They didn't let me in. My girlfriend, she never lets me forget it. She says, "You went to hell and they wouldn't let you in." What kind of asshole are you?
Oh, wow.
And yeah, shit. I died. I had that back surgery back in 2016. I had 5 back surgeries, May 2010, May 2011. And then in 12 or 13, I broke the rods, and number 4, I think they fused 3 of them, and then number 5, they tore out the 3 and fused 10, and then I broke them in a car wreck and didn't even know it. That's how dumb I was. I walked around on it for a year and a half, 2 years with broken rods.
You broke your back and your neck, and you didn't realize it either time you did it. 3 separate times.
I ain't too smart. Jeez. Just dumb is dumb.
Yeah.
Dude, the difference between dumb and brave is the outcome. So, brave.
Right.
I'll take your word for it, I'm going to dumb. Stupid is stupid, right? And so, shit. I went to a doctor in Kenya, a good buddy of mine just passed away a few years ago. He got me an appointment with a doctor at Cedars-Sinai in Hollywood. And then they took an x-ray, and the doctor said, "Well, there's a problem there, dumbass. You broke the rods."
He was real.
Yeah.
He read that room correctly.
Yeah.
He knew that he could look at you and go, "Hey, dumbass."
Spot on. So then it was 11-hour surgery to tear out the old shit, put in the new shit, and then 3 hours to clean up the scar tissue that I developed, from the broken rods. And then I was good for 4 days, and then I was in the hospital complaining about a headache. And so they took me in for a CAT scan, and I had a hemorrhagic stroke. And so then they put me in a coma for a month, trying to let that thing settle down. And I woke up. I remember this plain as fucking day. It was 2016. I woke up and Hillary Clinton was ahead in the polls. And I said, "Fuck, put me back in the coma."
Put me back down. Well, I'm glad that one worked out.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad it did. Yeah, good.
Put me away. I don't know. but during the coma, I caught pneumonia and something else. I don't know. But I passed away. And I remember going out, so I got to kill this guy, I got to kill this guy, I got to kill this guy, and then I got to go out the window, go around this way, and get on the boat, and then go across. I remember I traveled on a boat across an ocean. And it's like the SS Minnow.
Could have been the River Styx.
Banging the shit. Yeah, it's the River Styx. And it was just a river, it's a fucking ocean. And it's banging the shit out of me. And I get there, And we get off it, and it's like a big amphitheater, you know, and you don't really see people, but you see their shadows dancing against the wall. And the big flame, you see the flame, and you see, you know, the shadows against the wall, and then they let me in. And they sent me back across that fucking river.
Which was the worst part.
Right. Yeah.
You were like, let me in, weren't you?
Yeah, I was done with that. I'm seasick.
Don gets seasick, right? Yeah. That was the main problem there. Don, you know, you said something here, and I can't get it out of my head. You described life as a snowstorm. Do you know the only animal that walks knowingly and purposely into a snowstorm? It's the American bison.
Really?
So the American buffalo will walk into a snowstorm knowing that if it walks into the storm, that the storm will pass quicker because it'll actually seek out the temporary discomfort because it knows it'll get through the storm on the other side. Everything that you said here as our talk is coming to a close end here, I can't help but think that the buffalo is your spirit animal. Through all these injuries, through your life, through that darkness that you started off with, the terrible stories from your childhood, you just put your head down and you walk through that snowstorm.
Yeah, my Steve Owen, my judo coach, just say, you know, head down, tail up, and charge.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and those connections to you as a great American and obvious patriot that you are, and to have the American bison be your spirit animal, I hope you take that with you because you, my friend, are, your stature speaks to it. You're unbreakable. You can get hit by a ghost truck. And here you are talking to us two idiots shortly afterwards, you know?
Yeah, I still got a knot in my back. It's like, bitch.
So for those that want to walk into the snowstorm and do it knowingly, what advice would you give them to just keep their head down, keep their tail up, and keep going?
Head down, tail up, and charge, man. Just keep going. It'll end eventually. I mean, every storm passes. You know, and it may be shit after the storm, but at least you'll live. You know.
And you'll come out stronger on the other side.
Absolutely.
Because we grow from trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah, every storm runs out of rain, or every storm runs out of snow, and the aftermath goes by quicker when you head into it.
Right.
The American bison. If anyone picks that up from this, it's the American bison. It's the American way, and you are an American icon.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that when we look at manhood, we look at you, and we have been for years, for decades. So,
They make me feel old. Decades.
Well, I hope you accept this, Don. You are old, but I hope when I'm as old as you that I can be a tenth of the guy that you are. Absolutely.
I hope I can be that strong at your age, brother.
I didn't want to say anything. The guy broke my hand when we shook hands earlier. I was like, I don't want those paws on me.
Oh my gosh, man! If you're listening to this podcast, Google him. I mean, just Google him. He's a man that is bigger than life himself, but he's a big man in person. He's got hands that will grab yours and your friends and your mama's too. So if you want to slap your grandma, I know they're just the right guy to make it done right and feel generations. The man is big, to say the least, but not just in stature, in presence, in effect, and legacy. There's a reason why we're all in this room, brother.
Thank you, sir.
There is a reason. And it's bigger than the Air Force, and that's why a lot of people join the Air Force.
Yeah.
But it's bigger than the special operations community, too, and that's why we're all here, I think. The mindset, it transcends, and I've talked about this before. Fighters have the same mindset no matter where they are, whether they're wearing a uniform or they're locked in a cage. We're all locked in a cage.
Right.
It's called our mind.
Right. I had 30 new PJs in my house a couple months ago. You know,
I'm so sorry. On behalf of the community, I'm so.
It was great.
I bet you didn't have any whiskey. Probably somebody probably said something inappropriate.
Drop alcohol, water and bread. Right?
These guys are awesome.
They were great. And one of those boys, he made the team on his first go round.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Everybody else, don't make it the first go round.
You're right.
Yeah. He made it the first go. And my buddy Jim Cody Williams is his nephew, and he's prouder than shit of that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, Don, as we close it up here, he's a better man for knowing you and getting to spend that time with you. I'm sure the fans that you met today and that you've given yourself of service to those fans, I'm sure they feel the same way. And I can only say that because I personally feel that way. I want to say thank you as we're getting done here for the time that you've given, for the knowledge, for your experience, for your story, for being vulnerable, for being transparent. You are not a weak man. And the words that you said here today, I hope everybody listening finds a little strength in those
words. You got something in here that's making my eyes tear up. Something, kind of cat dinner or what?
It's hot in here. Your eyeballs are sweating. That's got to be it. Don, I just want to say thanks so much for spending the time with us. Atlas, thank you so much for the link up. Everybody make sure that you're listening to the Targeted Pod. Follow us at One's Ready. We got more of this for you in the future. Absolutely. I really appreciate it. Don, thank you so much.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been deep.
Thanks, partner.
Stay with us as we stay on target with another awesome episode coming up next. We'll see you there. And subscribe to Targeted now. As an ambassador to buckedup.com, I get to give you our special discount. That's Atlas25 when you go to buckedup.com to get that special discount. Only for our listeners, Atlas25. Go to buckedup.com now.